heck of a game of rugby league. Let's have a look at the two teams now. Firstly, the Manly side, bristling with internationals. In fact, of those 13 players on your screen, 11 of them have played for their country. Coached by Bobby Fulton, they've come here not to go home as losers. Brisbane also now can boast several internationals, and they again tonight will be pinning a lot of their hopes on the magic of Wally Lewis and his combination with the centres of Mal Meninga and Gene Miles. In just a moment, Keith Barnes will join me for his expert co-commentary to a match that I think you're going to very much enjoy. That'll happen in just a moment. Welcome back now. The final seconds ticking away before kick-off to a match under the control of Don Wilson, the New Zealand referee, who came to Brisbane following the turbulence that existed last week in deciding where the match would be played and under whom. He, of course, has done many internationals, Australia, France at Lang Park in 81, down through to that State of Origin decider last year at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Wally Lewis, the man who Bobby McCarthy will be looking to get those long passes out wide, I'm sure, to the Meningas, Gene Miles, Mitch Brennan, opposing captain Alan Thompson, and Mal Meninga, certainly a player to watch. His clash with Chris Close is going to be one hell of a duel. The crowd already at a very high level in expectation of something that they're going to long remember. Alan Thompson with the ball placed. Telecast coming to you live. Alan Thompson placed the ball, kicked off by Ian Schubert, and it's going deep down to Mitch Brennan's wing. Brennan tackled on his own 22 line. Playing it back to Greg Conescu. To the blind side they go with Brian Niebling. Niebling met by three Manly tacklers, Michael Blake, Ian Schubert and John Rebo. And the first penalty goes to Brisbane. Brings a roar from the crowd as Manly were caught inside the 5. Has the earmarks of being one of rugby league's biggest matches for 83, Keith Barnes.
Yes, it certainly is, and it's the crowd is electric, as you said earlier. I'm leaning Manly's way. I think they've got a tremendous pace and power in the forwards, and I think that that's where the match is ultimately going to be decided. It's a classic confrontation between these two packs. There's a lot of striking power in the Manly side and very heavy defensive qualities in the Brisbane side. Certainly the strength in the Brisbane team is Wally Lewis and the two centres, Mal Meninga and Miles, but I feel that the power and the pace of this Manly pack could ultimately carry the day, although it's certainly going to be a pretty close one.
Mitch Brennan took a very heavy tackle when taking the ball up, and Brennan is very groggy in the back play. That's how Manly came by possession as Ray Brown runs it across, and this is Noel Cleal who's made the transition. There's a high tackle, swinging arm, and a penalty to Manly. Talking of Cleal, he's made the transition from centre to second row. Something that a former Manly great also did very well in the shape of Terry Randall.
Yes, and certainly Brisbane are going to be looking to knock this Manly machine out of gear. They're going to be pretty aggressive in the opening minutes. It's a bad kick, but probably a little bit of lucky there as far as Manly were concerned. A bad kick from Graham Eadie, but it did find touch.
Now the tap being taken 12 metres into Brisbane's territory. Ray Brown taking the tap, and Dave Brown takes it up. Brown about 12 metres on the Brisbane side of halfway. Out to Paul Vorton. The run around was Ray Brown. Brown taken by Niebling. And the other front rower coming over the top was Brad Tessman. So play in centre field as the ball is taken on the bounce by Bruce Walker. Walker playing in the front row, a position that he's played in before, but he certainly prefers to play in the back row. As Eadie comes into the back line, gives it to Chris Close, and Close is tackled over there by the front row forward, Shane Bernardin. Chris Close playing the ball. Ian Schubert is down, and he's not quite sure where he is at the moment, Ian Schubert, as the ball is spun out, and Phil Sixworth got around one. He takes play just inside the 32-metre point, and a penalty right in front to Manly. Penalty right in front of the Sea Eagles against Shane Bernardin for a swinging arm in the tackle. Newspaper reports believed that Bernardin was brought into the side as a hitman for the Brisbane combination. He replaces Cavill Hugh tonight. But on this occasion, he's brought the first penalty within goal-kicking region to the Manly side for Graham Eadie. 30 metres out and directly in front.
Yes, and of course, Eadie didn't have his kicking boots in a couple of weeks ago when Manly went down to Western Suburbs. He's been a prolific point scorer, of course, in the Sydney competition. And the Manly boys will be hoping that he's brought the right pair of boots along this evening. It's not a difficult kick for a player and a kicker of Eadie's calibre, but very important, and the atmosphere up here, very, very tense.
So many personal duels meaning so much to each player. This clash between Eadie and Colin Scott. Eadie, of course, could well have made that Australian side to play New Zealand. He had to play second fiddle to Scott. You've got other players such as Chris Close in the Manly centres. He is out there tonight to prove that he has got the edge on Mal Meninga or Gene Miles. There's the Brisbane crowd letting Graham Eadie know exactly what they want him to do with this kick. Eadie hits it. It's looking wide. It is wide. No goal. And no score. After 3.5 minutes of rugby league action from Lang Park.
Centre field, and that would certainly be a setback to Manly's hope. Brisbane playing particularly well. Manly can't afford to concentrate too much on Willis because of the ability of Lindenberg, the Brisbane halfback. Very slippery player, and when he backed up that break by Meninga on the right-hand side of the field, it looked dangerous for Manly.
So a set move coming up from Brisbane as Lindenberg runs across a wall of three forwards and gives it to the man on the end of the train. Ball played there by Fullerton Smith, and it's gone out to Lindenberg, and across now to Wally Lewis. He's put it down, picked up quickly by Sixworth, given to Alan Thompson. A passage of broken play. Manly capitalising on it. Michael Blake to John Rebo. Rebo again in that contest over there with Mitch Brennan, and Brennan has pulled him down. Play back on the Brisbane 22. Out to Thompson. Across to Sixworth. Now to Schubert. Schubert tries to go through the gap. Good run by Schubert. Stands and gets a pass back to Ray Brown. Brown, though, was swallowed up by the Brisbane defence. Play just inside the home side's 22 line. Played back to Chris Close, who again is on his feet and apparently okay. Out to Alan Thompson, a cutout pass. Michael Blake got rid of Mal Meninga, and then he runs into the shoulder of Gene Miles, and that almost shook the stadium on the Brisbane 22. Alan Thompson, Dave Brown, hits it up again. Made a run of about 6 metres, Brown. Play back to Rebo. Rebo dummies once and gives it to Sixworth, and now they're going to try the bomb. Gene Miles is getting under it with Colin Scott. It's come down, and Brisbane with Colin Scott taking it out towards the quarter line.
And there's been a suggestion, of course, that Colin Scott is a bit unsure of the high ball in the matches because of his eyesight. But he certainly took that one particularly well. A penalty here to Brisbane, which the crowd certainly appreciates.
Line kick taken by Wally Lewis. And the tap to be taken 5 metres on the Brisbane side of halfway. Fullerton Smith. Back to Lindenberg, on to Lewis. This is Tessman. Sydney viewers, welcome back. No score in the first semi-final from Lang Park. And a penalty to Brisbane. This is within kicking range for Mal Meninga. 40 metres out, right in front. No wind assistance tonight to either side. Big Mal Meninga. Point scoring machine. In the introduction, I mentioned that Brisbane in their only cup final appearance played Cronulla. That could well happen again this year because as Brisbane is playing in tonight's match against Manly, hoping for a win the second semi-final next week, we'll see Cronulla, the 79 winners, taking on the only team to win the cup more than once, and that, of course, is Eastern Suburbs. winners in 75 and 78. A great clash for Leichhardt next Wednesday to follow upon this much publicised match here at Lang Park tonight. No decided scrums, penalties, 5-2 at the moment to Brisbane. Edie has had the one shot. He missed it. And here's Mal Meninga with his first attempt at points for the side. High, long, misses though, just wide. So out to the 22 for the restart, 0-0. Absolutely nothing in it so far, Keith Bucks.
No, there certainly isn't. But the player that's got to come into it as far as Manly's concerned and knows the time to do it is Big Cleal, the fellow that just kicked off there, put it deep into Brisbane's territory. But he's the player that should be looking to come off Alan Thompson or Phil Sigsworth, because he's the player with his powerful burst that can put a lot of pressure on these Brisbane forwards. Paul
Horton working overtime in defence, that time having a hell of a job trying to tidy it up. Gene Miles from Lindenberg to Lewis, back to Lindenberg, and he's tackled by Phil Sigsworth just a couple of metres on the Manly side of the halfway mark. Played back to Shane Bernarden, got the pass away. It's out to Tessman, who juggled it for a couple of strides before being tackled by Michael Blake and Ian Schubert. And players now in Manly's territory, midway between the 22 and the halfway. Out to Wally Lewis. Now it's been spread out to Gene Miles, and Miles is nicely taken there by Sigsworth. Played back again to Lewis. He drops it onto the right foot, kicks for touch, but it's gone over the head of John Rebo and gone into touch. So it'll be a scrum metres into Manly's area. Now he's decided to call out both hookers. Ray Brown and Greg Conescu. A knee went up there from one of the Brisbane players, and now the two packs erupt. Manly had been told to bring the scrum up, and then we saw the knee of one of the Brisbane players come up. You should see it on this replay. It's fairly vivid. There it is there. That's what started it. And Greg Conescu has been sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. Conescu, sin bin for 10 minutes. 3.5 minutes from the end of the first quarter. Graham Eadie's line kick finds it 12 metres into Brisbane's half. Ray Brown to take the tap. John Rebo takes it ahead. Still no score. Brown, Vorton, Brown, Walker. That's the 32-metre line that you see. Back to Brown. Now to Thompson. Manly are very deep. Sigsworth. Close. Coming up is Cleal. There's Cleal with the ball now. But they, in fact, lost about 8 metres in that passage of play. Close. Sigsworth. Thompson cuts out Schubert. Long pass taken well by Vorton. Vorton turns it back to Schubert. Quick pass to Michael Blake. Michael Blake struggling to free himself. Gets the pass away to John Rebo. He's beaten one. He's inside the 22. Rebo. He's beaten another. No, he's gone into touch. Rebo. He's into touch. 12 metres out.
Well, what a very clever pass on Thompson. Blake, who's playing particularly well. Rebo, a very powerful player. He just put his foot into touch. That was a let-off.
Gets into an opening. Passes to Mitch Brennan. Brennan comes away with it for Brisbane. Brennan's gone outside the 22. Alan Thompson's got him, and he's into touch. 10 metres out from the 22 line. Brisbane's end of the ground.
Yes, but the Brisbane defence starting to miss a few tackles now, with first Blake and then Schubert making good inroads, and very unfortunate that Manly were unable to capitalise on those opportunities.
Scrum again won by Manly.
but certainly a timely intercept by Brennan.
Just over 60 seconds of the first quarter remaining from Sigsworth to Close. The run around on the dummy, and Close goes ahead, but he's beautifully tackled by Wally Fullerton-Smith. Back it goes to Paul Vorton as Manly work on a wrap to the right. Vorton gets a pass back, keeping it alive, picked up by Cleal. Cleal taken by Lindenberg. He went straight through him. He's gone down to the 22, the big man, and he's tackled by Wally Lewis on the Brisbane 22. 45 seconds, quarter remaining. Out to Alan Thompson. The switch is on as Graham Eadie comes up, and Eadie is tackled at the same place as the ball was played. Played back to Ray Brown. Across the ground, getting out of the heavy traffic area, picking up Close. Close gets a pass away. Bowstead can't take it. Butler for Brisbane. Tackled by Michael Blake. Now Mal Meninga. Blake hangs on, gets the pass back, Meninga to Butler, and Butler's tackled on the halfway. Well, if the match continues at this cracking pace, there are going to be 26 very tired rugby league players at the end of this one. Brennan away from Rebo. Rebo chases. Sigsworth there in cover as the siren sounds. The end of the first quarter of the first semi-final in the KB Cup. No score. And after this break, we'll be back for the second quarter of the semi-final between Combined Brisbane and Manly. Both coaches giving their teams final instructions as the referee makes his way to centre ground for the start of the second quarter. No score at this stage. There's the scrum and penalty situation after 20 minutes. 2 decided scrums, both to Manly, 5-3 the penalties to Brisbane. A match that was played in the first 20 minutes at a cracking pace, living up to all the expectations of the predictions. Light rain falling now, showers in the order of the day here in Brisbane, and the crowd probably not as high as expected, but with the weather the way it's been, that's probably the best explanation, as Ian Schubert again kicks off for the Manly side. And that's Patterson, the lock forward, making a very good run of about 20 metres. And in fact, Bruce Walker's come out of it injured. He's clutching at the ribcage. Ball being played by Tessman, back to Bernarden, given to Lindenberg, now to Fullerton-Smith. He got around Ian Schubert, but was tackled by Brown and Paul Vorton. As penalty goes to Brisbane. Penalty to Brisbane. That was against the tackler. Billy Anderson was over at the first quarter break, the huddle of the two sides. Anything to report, Bill?
Well, Manly aren't going to change their game plan. They're going to hit the ball up the middle in the early tackles and then try and spread the ball out wide. For Brisbane, Coach Bob McCarthy was concerned about their two-marker defence. He felt it wasn't operating as well as possible, and he's going to go back to one marker now with a cover defender. He was mainly concerned that they just don't do anything fancy in attack, just keep hanging in there, and they're going to try and win this game in the third quarter.
Bill Anderson joining us on the commentary team from Lang Park tonight. We're coming to you live on Network 10 Sport. This is Brian Liebling, held by Schubert and Ray Brown.
I've also got a feeling that we may see Wally Lewis do a little bit more kicking in this second quarter. He's got the advantage of a slight breeze, looking to play the game down in Manly's territory. He only utilised the little kick a couple of times in the first quarter, and on 2 of those occasions they went astray, with one little chip over the top that had Manly in a lot of trouble.
Well, here's Phil Sigsworth making a break for Manly. He's coming up to the halfway line. He got rid of Bernarden. Butler's got him, though. Butler pulls him down. Midway between the 22 and halfway. Brisbane's into the ground. Good break made by Sigsworth.
Yes, but again, where was Kerry Boosted when Sigsworth looked for him on the first occasion?
Long passing from Manly. Through Schubert to Cleal. Now to Eadie. Makes the extra man in the back line. High stepping his way through. Got a pass back. Well taken, too. Supporting Eadie was Bruce Walker. Played back to Rebo, given to Brown. They're on the 32-metre line. Thompson fires it back to Close. Close goes up towards the quarter line, but he's pulled down by Wayne Lindenberg. Played by Close back to Sigsworth, given to Alan Thompson. Thompson sprints inside the 22, still going up to the 10-metre line, taken by Lewis. Alan Thompson continuing some great form that we've seen from him in the Winfield Cup in Sydney, and a penalty has been given to Manly against the Brisbane tackler. In fact, this time against Wally Lewis. The Graham Eadie will be called across. Here's the incident.
And probably not a bad ploy as far as Lewis was concerned anyhow, because the Brisbane defence was at 6s and 7s, and Manly starting to make inroads. Of course, Brisbane a man short. They're prepared to give Eadie the shot at the penalty.
Eadie has chosen to bring the ball back to where the 10-metre line intersects with the 22. None from one for Eadie. Big League, the official rugby league publication, not only carries the full team selections for all grades next weekend, but also carries player stories, club news and action photographs from the world of rugby league. Out and available at the newsagents tomorrow and on sale at the grounds over the weekend. Eadie. With this attempt to put first points on the board. Both he and Meninga have had one shot. No score at the moment. Listen to that crowd. Hits it. It's getting away. Taken in goal. Played by Gene Miles. This is Lewis. 6 metres into the field of play. Fullerton Smith. Taken by Paul Vaughton. Dummy half is Shane Bernarden. Brian Niebling. Around the legs again, Paul Vaughton. Vaughton's tackle count at this stage must be, I would think, up around the 15 mark. He's tackling everything that moves. Eadie standing, getting it to Thompson. Thompson to Walker. Walker gets back inside Tessman, spins and takes the tackle. Few metres on Brisbane side of the halfway. Dummy half is Schubert. Couple of paces away from dummy half, then to Vaughton, then to Sixworth. Sixworth running into the ruck area, and Manly have frittered away the last 3 tackles.
Very tentative on each occasion.
Now the spin, and it's gone to Dave Brown. Turns it back to Sixworth. Bernarden makes the tackle from behind, and the ball has been lost in the tackle. Picked up by Ray Brown, but the referee has ordered a scrum. Thompson to work the scrum to the open side. It's gone to Sixworth. Just got under the arm of Mal Meninga. Looks like he might have flipped him. Sixworth. Sixworth semi-conscious at the moment. Referee has called timeout. I thought the swinging arm from Meninga missed its mark. 0-0 the score. We'll be back in just a moment. Throw for commercial, of course, to our live audience in Sydney tonight. A very groggy and sick Phil Sixworth. Sixworth still on the ground, receiving attention. Watching the KB Cup live in Sydney from Lang Park. No score on the board. Dave Brown plays the ball to Ray Brown. Now Paul Vaughton gets it back to Ray Brown. Short ball put down by Alan Thompson. And this will be a scrum. Midway between the 22 and the halfway on Brisbane's end of the field. This was a ball that was thrown too hard to a player so close. And Brisbane have come up with their first scrum win of the night. Out to Colin Scott. Taken by Sixworth and again Vaughton. Dummy half is Gene Miles. This is Fullerton Smith turning it back to Bernardin. Greg Conescu about to come back on the field. As it's given to Wally Lewis. He spins a wide ball out to Lindenberg. Went behind him. Got a pass away. Here's Meninga. Taken by Close. There was no way that Chris Close was going to let Mal Meninga out of his sights on that occasion. Meninga looking for some open ground to work in. And Close was just as keen to close it down. Charged down by Ian Schubert on the kick by Wally Lewis. Recovered by Gene Miles. Conescu back on the field now for the Brisbane team. There he is. So Brisbane back with 13 men now. This is Patterson. To the blind side. Tessman. Tessman over the halfway. Collared eventually by Noel Cleal. Lindenberg. Now it's with Lewis. Lewis takes it up the middle. Finds Mitch Brennan supporting. Dropped behind him. Picked up by Lindenberg. Tackled by Ray Brown. 6 more tackles indicated. Conescu. Bernardin. Miles. Meninga. Michael Blake hanging on. Meninga to play it. A few metres into Manly's area.
Doing a good job, Blake. He's not giving Meninga any room to move. Getting up at him very, very quickly.
Penalty. High tackle against Chris Close. And a chance for Mal Meninga to put first points on the board. See it again. High tackle from Close on Gene Miles. And a penalty to this man, Mal Meninga now. One shot without success. Of course, this match has filled the place of many descriptions. The match of the year, a test of superiority between the states. It also probably accommodates the challenge that was handed down at the end of the State of Origin series. The $100,000 challenge issued by Brisbane to the winner of the Sydney Premiership. Meninga, I like this one. He's got it. Meninga has brought first points to the Brisbane side. Brisbane leading by 2 points to 0. 8 minutes gone, second quarter.
Yes, and certainly the ability now to capitalise on goal-kicking opportunities could play a vital, have a vital bearing on the game, because the defences of both sides has been particularly tight, and I think tries are going to be at a minimum.
Alan Thompson varying the kick-off this time. Butler going across the ground, taken by Vaughton. Also in the tackle was Alan Thompson. Out to Wally Lewis. Dummies back to Conescu and tries to make the split himself, but Vaughton is there again, combining with his captain, Alan Thompson. This man is Brian Niebling. He's lost it. Ray Brown has it for Manly. He's lost it. Dived on by Brisbane, and he's going to play the knock on. So this scrum is going down in centre field, about 5 metres on the Manly side of halfway. Brisbane leading by 2 points to 0 as a result of that penalty from Mal Meninga. Scrum won by Manly. Thompson giving it back to Graham Eadie. Eadie going across the ground. He's made a break, Eadie. He's 20 metres into Brisbane territory, looking in vain for somebody to back him up. Michael Blake and John Rebo had long gone on his left. Thompson, Schubert, popping the ball short to Walker, and Walker is held on the Brisbane 32. Manly struggled to beat Newtown at the weekend and went down the week earlier to Western Suburbs in a shock result. Brown's got it for the Manly side. 6 more tackles. And Phil Blake is on the sidelines. Bobby Fulton is about to send Phil Blake into the match. Chris Close struggling away from a tackle. He's 15 metres from the line, Close. Dummy half is Kerry Bowstead. Phil Sigsworth still dazed. He'll be replaced by Phil Blake. Eadie coming inside Alan Thompson. Ray Brown, Alan Thompson, short ball. Ian Schubert losing his footing just when it seemed there was an opportunity for Manly. He got to his feet, passed to Rebo. Rebo is held about 5 metres out from the Brisbane line. Phil Blake on the field for Manly. Sigsworth is off. Out to Alan Thompson. Thompson to Eadie. And Eadie is able to get a pass away to Thompson. Thompson gets it away to Vaughton. Vaughton is held 10 metres out from the line. Paul Vaughton, who has toiled every second of this match so far. Ray Brown across the field. Dummies to Walker. Gives it to Close. And Chris Close is over the line. Can he get it down? Yes! Close has got it down. A try has been given. A try has been given to Chris Close. Interested to see a passage of this play, though, whether or not there was an obstruction. Walker was sent through as a decoy. The ball carrier went around behind Walker, and then it was given to Chris Close. But to me, it fits under the heading of obstruction. The decoy sent ahead, taking 2 players out of the line of defence. The try has been given. But to me, Bruce Walker has certainly given the ball carrier a shield. See it again, that piece of play there.
Yes, he certainly did, and he caught plenty for his corner too. He came in as a decoy, and he certainly came in for some very heavy punishment. And I think Manly were a bit fortunate they will be awarded the 4-pointer.
So the try has been given. Graham Eadie will attempt conversion. Manly leading by 4 points to 2. 8.5 minutes of the second quarter to go. Well, Bruce Walker might be thinking twice about running as a decoy again, as that replay showed you. He appeared to get an elbow.
Chris Close giving the Brisbane crowd something to cheer about, and he's pointing up to the scoreboard saying, well, we'll have a look at the score. It's 4 points to 2, and I'm the chap that scored the try.
Shepherd or no Shepherd, the scoreboard tells the final story. But if Chris Close is going to reply to the crowd, it's going to become even more vocal before the end of this night. Graham Eadie, 8 metres in from touch. On the 22 line. That's the view he's got of it. Hits it. He's got it. Eadie has converted the Chris Close try, sending Manly to a 6 points to 2 lead now. Wally Lewis restarting for the home side. Welcome back, Sydney viewers. The kickoff has just taken place. Kerry Bowstead playing it. Alan Thompson passing to Ian Schubert. Schubert held just inside the 22 line. Manly leading 6 points to 2. Controversial try scored by Chris Close. Let's not forget to pay tribute to Close, though. Here's Bowstead. Bowstead is flying down the flank. Inside, Phil Blake is with him. Blake's off. Blake's off, chased by Brennan. Brennan won't catch him, I don't think, no. Phil Blake on the field, 2 minutes, has scored. Well, I was about to say earlier that we hadn't seen much of Kerry Bowstead, but suddenly the little fellow took off like a scalded cat, and he made this big rush down the right flank. And then Phil Blake, the youngster who was shocked by his omission from the team, was one of 2 players in field. Look at Bowstead as he went on that swerve to link up with his supports. He found Philip Blake. He had support, but he strode away from his brother Michael. It was nearly going to be a case of Blake back-to-back again, but Mitch Brennan couldn't bring him down, and Phil Blake is in for another try in 83.
Yes, a top combination here between Alan Thompson and Graham Eadie. Eadie drew Butler in and gave Bowstead the play up the right-hand side. He's redeemed himself because I thought he had 2 opportunities to come into the play, Bowstead. Blake backing up on the inside, as he always does, backs up the man that makes the break, capitalised on it under the posts.
Phil Blake, 23 tries, I do believe, this year. Graham Eadie from right in front. Kicks that Eadie simply eats up. 10 metres out, right in front, no mistakes. And Manly, they go further in front. No question mark about that try. 12 points to 2 now in favour of the Eagles. I was about to reflect on the Chris Close try. We were talking about how there appeared to be a shepherd. There appeared to be an elbow on Bruce Walker at the same time. But Chris Close showed tremendous force to get that ball over for his try. This is Michael Blake now. Wally Lewis is going to have to pull this side now together. Azidi comes outside 22. Bowstead was on his inside, but he couldn't get it to him. Alan Thompson, Ray Brown, Dave Brown. Dave Brown is tackled on the 32. Manly with tries at the 8.5 and the 7-minute mark from the half-time break. Bruce Walker, Ray Brown, Paul Vorton, Alan Thompson, Ian Schubert. Schubert looking to get to the supports. He's lost it. Gene Miles has it for Brisbane. Manly 12, Brisbane 2. This is Meninga. Tackled by Alan Thompson and Paul Vorton. Dummy half Conescu. Across the ground, looking for the second runner, picking up Tessman. Again tackled by Vorton and by Cleal. Ball lost in the tackle, dived on by Cleal. He'll put the scrum down. New Zealand referee Don Wilson in charge. He's already angered both sides with some of his rulings. But he certainly, I think, has angered the Brisbane crowd more than anybody else here tonight. This is a differential penalty to Brisbane, and feet across is the ruling. A very important passage of play for Brisbane. A converted try here will send them to the half-time break with some hopes of hitting back in the second half. Fullerton Smith is tackled 9 metres out from the Manly line. This is Lindenberg. Now Lewis. 2 forwards running as decoys back to the other side. Lewis held by Vorton and by Alan Thompson. Played back to Conescu. To the right, turning it back in field. And Brisbane are just 5 metres out from the line. Played by Patterson. Back to Conescu. Given to Niebling. Niebling is upended there by Graham Eadie. Played back for Niebling to give it out through Lewis. It's gone to Meninga. The run around picked up by Lewis. It wasn't meant for him, but he took it well. It's now with Wayne Lindenberg. Lindenberg, I thought he might have been able to step around Dave Brown, but Brown was able to bring him down. It's played back for Bernardin to give it to Tessman. Tessman reels and looks to give it back. He gets the pass away to Lindenberg. He gives it away to Patterson. Patterson to Lewis. Scoops it through the legs. It's gone to Meninga. Meninga is going for the corner. Turns it to Scott. Scott's lost it. Manly coming up with the ball. Ball played by Michael Blake. Out to Alan Thompson. Now Goldie Walker. A couple of these players getting the knees up as they come to the defence line. Here's Schubert. Ian Schubert. Tackled on the quarter. Thompson. Walker. Manly turning it back and sending forwards up the middle. Leading by 12 points to 2. 3 minutes away from the half-time break. This man has had a tremendous game for Manly in the department that not everyone sees. The defence. Paul Vorton I'm talking about. Cleal puts the kick in. Scott on the run. Australian fullback into Manly's area. Tackled by Rebo. Played back to Brennan. Mitch Brennan, who himself has played in a cup final with the South Sydney side. Now it's to Lindenberg. Lewis, cut out pass to Meninga. Meninga going back into
Lewis and Gene Miles. They've all been pretty well contained by the Manly defence.
Schubert has the ball for Manly. Near the halfway line. Phil Blake. Long ball to Alan Thompson. Just as long to Bruce Walker. Now to Graham Eadie. Eadie standing and was thinking about passing, but then no support, takes it to ground. Plays it back to Alan Thompson. Still to the blind side. Dave Brown. Brown is about 6 metres on his side of the halfway. Manly leading by 12 points to 2, coming up to the half-time break. Ray Brown, cut-out pass. And Michael Blake is the man hitting it up. Michael Blake to play it. Just into Brisbane's area now. Ray Brown, off from dummy half. Some 3 metres, picking up Phil Blake. Dancing, coming across the ground. Taken by Lindenberg and put to ground. Thompson again. Now to Schubert. Schubert has played very well. 10 metres into Brisbane's area. Dummy half, Phil Blake. Alan Thompson in possession. Now it's with Ray Brown out wide. Here's Chris Close. Close, going very hard. Inside the 22. Colin Scott, a great tackle. Tremendous tackle by Scott. And that's the turnover. Fullerton Smith. Lewis. Out from his 10-metre line. Away from Walker. Outside the 22. Taken to ground by Vorton. Chris Close in back play is down, I believe, suffering from cramp. Dummy half Bernardin. Lewis. Lindenberg. That's Scott into the back line. Cut down by Michael Blake, who's done some tremendous tackling out in the centres. Conescu. High ball taken by Fullerton Smith. Rebo has him on the halfway. 12 points to 2. Chris Close back on his feet. Now it's with Lewis. Kicks for the line. That'll find it. Good kick by Lewis. Finding touch inside the Manly 22. 23 seconds of the second quarter remaining. Kick by Wally Lewis on replay. And the scrum on the 22 line, a penalty to Brisbane against Manly for collapsing the scrum and now back chatting. So this now becomes a chance for Brisbane to take the kick at goal. What was a differential penalty now becomes an opportunity for Brisbane to take a kick at goal. The siren has sounded and Meninga has been told by his captain to take the shot. $12 points to 2. We'll be back tonight during the half-time break with Keith Barnes and his summary of the first half of play. We'll show the controversial try scored by Chris Close again to you, and then that other try that was Alan Thompson, Graham Eadie, Kerry Bowstead, Phil Blake at their brilliant best. Mal Meninga, 10 metres in, 22 metres out. It looks good. He's got it. Meninga has kicked the goal. And Manly goes to the break, leading Brisbane by 12 points to 4. I'll be joined by Keith Barnes. We'll review the action of the first 2 quarters for you in just a moment. Welcome back now to Lang Park for the half-third quarter. Scoreline, Manly 12, Brisbane 4. 2 tries to the Manly side, 2 penalties to Brisbane. 2 replacements have been made. Bruce Astle is on for Brisbane in number 17. He's taken the place of Brian Niebling, and Ross Windshuttle is also on in 17, taking the place of Chris Close. So Manly have now lost 2 key players, Phil Sixworth and Chris Close, but the replacements of Phil Blake and Ross Windshuttle typifies the depth within the Manly club. So we're into the action of the third quarter. This is Gene Miles, taken by Thompson inside his 22. And Miles getting up slowly, probably giving his supports time to get back with him. Lindenberg playing it now on the 22 line.
Brisbane's tactic's pretty obvious because these 3 Brisbane players haven't bothered about going back at all.
Graham Eadie now, realising that the bulk of the Brisbane side are offside, decides to reply to the kick by Gene Miles. It's got around Miles. He's raked it back into the fence. Here's a chance for Thompson. Oh, a clash of Thompson and Miles. Ball dived on by Ross Windshuttle, and he's given a try. Try given to Ross Windshuttle for Manly. Well, I've seen some players score quick tries, but this has to almost go down as a record. 56 seconds. He was on the ground, Ross Windshuttle, when this ball did a dipsy-doodle around Gene Miles. He raked it back into the field of play. Then he and Alan Thompson, both like bulls at a gate, crash. In they go. The ball comes spinning back. Windshuttle playing to the whistle, plunges over, and the referee, after consulting his touch judge, gave the try to the Manly side to go 16 points to 4 ahead.
Yes, and certainly a bad mistake as far as Miles was concerned. It looked as if it was brilliant play, the way he kept the ball in play there, but I thought he had the opportunity of trapping it with his foot on the first occasion as it was going past. And he certainly took a risk which didn't come off.
No question about the try scored by Ross Windshuttle. Manly leading by 16 to 4. And Graham Eadie with this shot from just outside the 22 and about 8 metres in from touch on the old grandstand side. Some attention being sought in the in goal by Gene Miles. Graham Eadie now. Slight breeze with Manly. Getting across the face of the uprights. No goal. So Manly leading by 16 points to 4 and coming up with a try that I'm sure their most ardent supporter wouldn't have dreamed about. Gene Miles still receiving attention after a head clash that had to happen with Alan Thompson. Let's take a half-time report from Billy Anderson.
Well, Manly were very concerned about Phil Sigsworth, but of course they're very happy with the way they're playing, both defence and attack. They're going to continue to keep the ball alive and hit the blind side, where they had a lot of success in that first half. Brisbane, on the other hand, of course, have got to watch their blind side defence and try to bustle Manly off their normal free-flowing game. I'm sure that Bob McCarthy must have been concerned about his two centres, Miles and Meninga. They've been extremely quiet, and this is where they would have been looking to attack. They just haven't produced the form that we've seen from them in the past.
Billy Anderson reporting from ground level here at Lang Park. Gene Miles still on the ground receiving attention. Now he's up and coming back as his side try to get play over the halfway. This is Fullerton Smith. Tackled by Cleal and Ray Brown. Conescu across the halfway. Short ball to Bernard. Bernard tackled by Horton and Schubert. Out it goes to Tesman. Now it's with Wally Lewis. Taken by Michael Blake. Brisbane 10 metres into Manly's territory. Out to Lindenberg. Across to Astle. Astle draws them, gets the pass to Colin Scott, who's put it down. Picked up by Schubert, given to Vorton. Vorton gets the pass away to Phil Blake, and Blake takes the tackle. Smothered under the Brisbane defence. Alan Thompson. Dave Brown. Back to Vorton. Vorton about 8 metres short of the halfway. Schubert is the dummy half. Turns it to Cleal. Cleal away from one, through a second, over the halfway line. And we'll play it back to Ray Brown. Now it's with Phil Blake, and a penalty against Brisbane for being inside the 5. In the meantime, Alan Thompson has gone to ground. Back-chatting has been ruled now by the referee. Another penalty to Manly, and Graham Eadie will come up and take the shot at goal. Alan Thompson on his hands and knees. He's just getting up after getting some attention to the back area. Wally Lewis asking the question of the referee. And it is not a very happy Wally Lewis at the moment.
Now, when he asked the question earlier, didn't he? He got marched a further 10 yards.
In the meantime, Graham Eadie prepares to take this
penalty kick for goal.
I think the worst thing now that Wally Lewis can do is argue with the referee. Certainly he's got to take control of the Brisbane side. He's got to tighten up their defence in the middle of the rucks. And as far as attack is concerned, I think he should have both Meninga and Miles a lot deeper than what they are, because the Manly defensive pattern is very shallow, moving up very quickly. And if he's not going to use the chip over the top, well, obviously he's got to have Meninga and Miles a lot deeper and really coming onto the ball.
Manly, if they go on after tonight to win the cup final, stand to take out $126,000. Plus, of course, the KB Cup. Brisbane, they can win $118,000. Currently, Manly has won $36,000, Brisbane $28,000. The discrepancy, of course, brought about by the bye that Brisbane had in the first round. The attempted penalty unsuccessful. And it'll come out to the 22 for the place kick, or the dropout, I should say, to restart. Eadie has only been successful with 2 out of 6 now. And here he is, former Australian fullback, Graham Eadie. Up to near the halfway, 16 points to 4 in favour of the Manly side. Vaughton, a gain of about 10 metres. Strong run by Vaughton. Ray Brown, Alan Thompson, back to Brown, and now it's out to Goldie Walker. Stands, gets it to Ian Schubert. Schubert back across to the centre of the field, fires it out to Vaughton. Vaughton taken by Tessman, tackled on the 22, but the referee is taking play back. He's taking play back, and I believe has ordered the forward pass that was sent to Ian Schubert. It was Bruce Walker who got his arms free, and then he gave that pass, and I thought the referee had allowed play to go on, but he took it back to exactly that point on the ground and put that scrum down, which Manly has won. Phil Blake playing it 30 metres out from the home team's line, out to Kerry Bowstead, who at the moment anyway is playing in the centres. In fact, it's Bowstead in the centres, Windshuttle on the wing, and it's Alan Thompson feeding it to Windshuttle, who scored Manly's third try inside a minute from the restart of the third quarter. Here's Dave Brown. Brown up to the 22. The pass has gone back into no man's land. Picked up by Phil Blake. A long ball out to Kerry Bowstead. That must have been a 30-metre pass to Bowstead. Now it's with Graham Eadie. He's gone inside one. Stamps over the top of another. Then he gives the pass back, and tackle with it is Walker on the Brisbane 22 line. Into dummy half again is Ray Brown. To the right is Alan Thompson. This man. Inside goes Noel Cleal. Jumps out of one tackle. Gets out of a second. And barges his way to a point about 6 metres from the Brisbane line. Noel Cleal playing it back to Ray Brown. Brown, short ball to Dave Brown. And he's held there by his former teammates from the State of Origin matches. Across from Ray Brown to Phil Blake. Drop shot. He's got it. Phil Blake kicking the drop goal, sending Manly to a 17 points to 4 field goal. Absolutely nobody coming through to block it down. Blake had a heap of time, and he rings up his 5th point in the match, having scored a try earlier. Wally Lewis recommences play down to Graham Eadie. This is Windshuttle coming outside the 22 and seemed to have a tremendous amount of vacant space between he and the front line of defence. Here's Vaughton. Vaughton is tackled on the 32 by Patterson and by Lewis. Ray Brown delivers it back to Phil Blake. Now to Noel Cleal, and a knock-on, a scrum to go down just outside the Manly quarter. Lindenberg working the scrum. Won by Brisbane. Out to Wally Lewis. Lewis tackled on the 22 by Alan Thompson. Lindenberg, a dummy to Astle. Thompson has him. Back to Tessman. Tessman is held about 12 metres out from the Manly try line. Conescu, Fullerton Smith, taken high and low. Welcome back to our Sydney viewers. Brisbane on the attack. 3 metres out from the Manly line. Conescu with the run round. and is in possession of the ball now. Greg Conescu, 5 metres out from Manly's line. Meninga at dummy half to Lindenberg. Cuts out Wally Lewis. Back to Gene Miles. Miles gets his pass away to Bruce Astle. And Astle is tackled 10 metres away from the Manly line. Manly 17, Brisbane 4. Out to Lewis. Lewis spins and turns it back to Fullerton Smith. Tackled by Ray Brown and Dave Brown from Conescu. Across to Lindenberg. On to Lewis. A big back line. Put down by Brisbane. And the referee is going to put the scrum down with the Manly line only about 12 metres upfield. This was the incident. Long ball by Lewis. And the knock-on against the Brisbane team. Colin Scott unable to take it. Fed by Thompson, won by Manly. Blindside for Thompson. Picked up by Astle. So Manly will probably use Graham Eadie for one to take it out. He's decided to pass. Gave it to Schubert. Brushes off one feeble attempt at tackle. Gets it to Michael Blake. On to John Rebo. Rebo's away from Mitch Brennan the first time. But Brennan has got him with Gene Miles' help. Dummy half is Michael Blake. Ian Schubert, who's played very strongly for Manly. Tackled inside the 22. Dummy half is Ray Brown. Over to Alan Thompson. Now to Graham Eadie. Eadie trying to get through the gap. Throws the ball and hopes for the best, but Brisbane have come up with it. Wing three-quarter Terry Butler is in possession. And Brisbane now from broken play, hoping to score their first try. Meninga to play it.
Actually, that was a surprising decision by Graham Eadie then to attempt to throw a pass in that circumstance. A try to Brisbane and they're right back in the game.
Out to Bernardin. On to Lindenberg. Lindenberg shaped a kick, then through the dummy again before being wrestled to the ground by Vorton. Ball played back to Miles. This is Wally Lewis giving it to Brad Tessman. Oh, round the corner pass was a beauty, but it was put down. Eadie outside the 22, outside 32. Here's Phil Blake. Blake's over the halfway. One-handed to his brother Michael. Michael's up to the 22. Here's Rebo. Rebo's gone without it. Picked up by Phil Blake. Scooped away to Bruce Walker now. Walker, he's tackled 32 metres out from the Brisbane line. Well, Brisbane were almost certainly going in to score under the uprights. It was a great pass around the corner from, I believe, Brad Tessman, but his support unable to take it.
Yes, it certainly was a magnificent pass from Tessman to Astle, and Astle had every opportunity to take it too, and then a great break by Eadie.
Phil Blake chips over the top. Referee indicates that he saw the incident and says play on. Scott, tackled by Michael Blake. Mitch Brennan has gone into dummy half. And Brennan gets under a high tackle from Rebo. Bruce Walker is still on the ground receiving attention. This is Shane Bernardin. Got a pass away. Wally Fullerton-Smith makes a charge upfield out to the 32-metre point. Bruce Walker's okay. Manly 17, Brisbane 4. Wayne Lindenberg. Brisbane putting it down. Manly's ball. Ian Schubert working on a narrow blindside. Dummy half for him will be Ross Windshuttle. Kerry Bowstead has fallen in behind the ruck. He'll call for it. No. Windshuttle decides to take it and settle it for one himself, but he might go into touch. Now he flings it to Schubert. Over to Bowstead. On to Thompson. Now Dave Brown. On it goes now to Ray Brown. Stands. Inside finds Vorton. Vorton up to the 22. Puts the ball down. And it's Brisbane's ball. Brisbane coming up with it. 7.5 minutes of the third quarter to go. Gene Miles. Can he or Mal Meninga or Wally Lewis or Wayne Lindenberg get Brisbane back into this game? Lindenberg. Lewis. Tessman. Tessman. Taken to ground. 5 metres short of the halfway mark by Noel Cleal. That's Meninga. Near the halfway line. Tessman. Fullerton-Smith's gone without it. Picked up by Wally Lewis. Back into the middle of the ruck, where he's met by Schubert and Vorton. 5 tackles gone for Brisbane. Gavin Jones on the sidelines for his team, about to come on. Windshuttle with the ball for Manly. Outside the quarter. Tackled on the 32-metre point. Is the replacement Jones on the sidelines. And we're told he'll replace the lock forward Trevor Patterson. Dave Brown floating it wide to Michael Blake. Taken by Gene Miles. Played by Blake. Rebo goes away with it. Tackled by Miles and by Tessman. Ray Brown in a dummy half. Away he goes out of that heavy area to Thompson, to Cleal, now to Vaughton. Quick ball required, turned inside, picking up Schubert. Schubert's over the halfway, stands, gives it back to Bruce Walker. Walker taken up the top by Tessman, down below by Patterson. Walker slowly to his feet. Brown losing it behind him, scooping it back to Alan Thompson, spearing it off to Kerry Bosted. Bosted throws the pass and it's gone into touch. And a scrum will go down just on the Brisbane side of halfway. Touch judge coming in with the replacement. It is Patterson who's going from the field, and Gavin Jones comes on for Brisbane. Bruce Walker again receiving attention from the Manly trainer. Ian Schubert's played strongly tonight, Keith.
Oh, he's had a magnificent game, both in attack and defence. Brisbane's biggest problem is their inability to contain the Manly ball carrier. Manly keeping the ball alive at every opportunity. Players looking to back each other up. But a try, of course, now to Brisbane can really open this game up again.
Nice ball from Meninga to Brennan. Brennan taken in a touch just inside the quarter-way line by Rebo and Michael Blake. Michael Blake's defence tonight has been nothing short of superb. He's much, much smaller than the Brisbane centres, and he's turned in a top performance in the defence department and has been in support of a couple of good breaks that have been made in field. Now, Bruce Walker, I'm told, has been replaced for the Manly team. Scrum won by Manly, out to Graham Eadie. Eadie inside Meninga.
This bloke's had a great game.
Hasn't he? What? Eadie with a bumping run has taken play out to the 32-metre line. Now Manly have sent Glenn Ryan on. Glenn Ryan has replaced Bruce Walker. That's him on camera. Now it's to Ray Brown. Cut out pass to Rebo. Vaughton's on his outside. Rebo throws the dummy, goes back in field, over the halfway. Now he'll look for support. Tackled about 12 metres into Brisbane's territory. Vaughton will go to dummy half. Phil Blake is calling it to the right. Here he is with the ball now. Long ball out to brother Michael. On to Alan Thompson. Cuts out Ryan. Picks up Bosted. Quick ball. Wind Shuttles put it down. And Brisbane come up with it again. 17 points to 4 in favour of Manly. On their way to yet another cup final, it would appear. Penalty inside the 5 against the Eagles. Channel 10's replay of the Sydney Premiership match on Sunday, by the way, at 6 o'clock, is the big one between Parramatta and Canterbury Bankstown. Viewers in Brisbane will see their match here between Souths and Norths. Telecast time 6:30 on Channel O. Wally Lewis taking the kick for touch and finding it about 26 metres out from the Manly line. Under 3 minutes of the third quarter remaining. This is Brad Tessman, held on the quarter line. Brisbane still unable to cross that Manly line. But then again, many sides have found the Manly defence impregnable. Now it's Fullerton Smith, taken by Ryan, just inside the 10-metre line. Converted try here for Brisbane would really set the stage for a great final quarter. Lindenberg to Astle. Astle is held, still 10 metres out from the Manly line. Played back and fed across from Lindenberg to Lewis, and Lewis has gone back into the middle of play. That's just about what Manly would want him to do. Out to Wayne Lindenberg. He puts the short bomb up, and Eadie has taken it magnificently. Heavy pressure there for Eadie, but he went up and took it well. It was a neat kick too by Wayne Lindenberg, and he went through, put everybody on side, and then put the pressure on Eadie. So the line dropout taken by Noel Cleal. And this is Colin Scott now. Just out from the Manly 22. Jones wrestled to the ground by Ryan and Michael Blake. Wally Lewis, short kick over the top for Astle to chase. Ball taken by Phil Blake, and he's lost it.
And going away with it, Mitch Brennan. Brennan's over. Mitch Brennan has scored. Brennan scoring for Brisbane. Just up in front of the third quarter break. Lewis put the chip over the top. Astle went through after it. Windshuttle couldn't take it. Phil Blake had it, but then he lost it. And Mitch Brennan was off to score the first Brisbane try of the night. And a chance for Meninga to convert and bring Brisbane back into this game.
Yes, and that was certainly the try that Brisbane needed, wasn't it? It looked as if Blake had it covered. He certainly had possession of the ball. Brennan spun him around, took it from behind his back, and then went over for a try that certainly brought Brisbane back into the game. Now a possibility of Meninga converting to make the possible score 17 points to 10. And we are set for a final thrilling 20 minutes.
15 metres in from touch on the 22. Try scored by Mitch Brennan. And it came 1 minute from the break. Meninga's kick is unsuccessful. And that's a two-pointer that Brisbane badly needed. Manly 17, Brisbane 8. 2 out of 4 for Meninga. 10-5 the penalties to Brisbane. 7-3 the scrums to Manly. Alan Thompson having a quick chat to the referee. Manly realising that they're almost into the third break, and the kickoff is taken by Jones. He puts the kick up. Eadie's underneath it. Safe as a bank. Taken by Tessman and by the kicker. And that's the end of the third quarter. Referee going in to break up a difference of opinion between Tessman and Eadie. There's your scoreline. Manly 17, Brisbane 8. And we're back in just a moment. Come back to Lang Park for the Network 10 sports coverage of the first KB Cup semi-final. Coming to you tonight live with Manly leading Brisbane 17 points to 8. Manly scoring 3 tries to 1. And can that man, Wally Lewis, bring his side together and back with a fighting chance of reaching the cup final in a fortnight's time? Richard Paulson has been brought into the Brisbane side as Graham Eadie immediately replies to the kickoff. And it's in the hands at the moment of Colin Scott, who decides to run it. Taken to ground by Alan Thompson. And Thompson has hurt himself in the tackle. Here's the new man, Richard Paulson. Tackled near the halfway. Shane Bernarden has been replaced by Paulson. This is Jones, who came on during that third quarter. Lindenberg looking for an opening up the centre, but Glenn Ryan hit very hard in that tackle. Out to Astle, now to Meninga, who's had a quiet game, Keith.
Yes, and he pulled up in that tackle too. He's certainly not running with the determination that we've seen of him in the past. He's been completely blotted out by Michael Blake in general three-quarter play, but here's a chance now.
Yeah, oh, he's lost it across the line. Butler was in for your life there. He had the ball, I believe, in his hands and was going in with it when he lost it. See it again. Eadie realised the urgency of the matter. Butler appeared to have it just for a split second off a cross kick from Gene Miles.
And you can imagine that Brisbane now are going to throw everything into this next couple of minutes because they're trailing 17 points to 8. They have to get a try on the board. They have to get it on quick. That was a great opportunity for them.
Referee Don Wilson calling it up. Fed by Lindenberg, won by Brisbane. Out to Lewis. Lewis marked up there by the Manly defence of Ross Winshuttle. Here's Meninga. He's got his right ankle very heavily taped, Meninga. Penalty to Brisbane. I believe it's two markers, one not standing behind the other. It's right in front, and this is the goal that Mal Meninga. Well, Wally Lewis has decided to abandon plans for any goal kicking at this stage, and they're going for the six-pointer. Astle, Meninga. Meninga, I was saying, has that right ankle heavily taped. I'm not sure that it was like that at the start of the game. So he apparently has injured the ankle during play. Astle to play it 10 metres out from the Manly line. Out to Lindenberg. Throws the pass back, picked up by Jones. Back on the 22-metre line. This is Fullerton Smith. Now Lindenberg. Lewis shapes to kick, doesn't. Tackled 18 metres out. Last tackle for Brisbane. The bomb should be coming. Lindenberg puts it up. Again, Graham Eadie tested. There he goes. Oh, brilliant take by Eadie again. Eadie, tremendous under pressure here tonight, and he's made some very forceful runs, rewarding his side in valuable territory. He got a bit of cover there too, I noticed, from a fellow who knows something about taking bombs. Paul Vorton now. Outside 32. Up to the halfway goes Vorton. Tackle by Butler. Schubert's the dummy half. Broken play. They'll stretch it very quickly, I would think. Thompson, Rebo. Rebo taken by Astle and Meninga. Thompson dummy half. Noel Cleal. Cleal through one. Up to the second.
Yes, we haven't seen too much of Cleal either, but when he's come into the game, he certainly put a lot of pressure on the Brisbane defence, made a lot of very, very strong runs.
Chip ahead, charge down, picked up by Ryan for Manly. 6 more tackles. Ray Brown has gone to dummy half again. A position where you'll find him almost permanently based all night long. Here's Schubert. Schubert getting between a couple of players to Winshuttle. Inside to Michael Blake, now to Ryan. Can he pass? Oh, Phil Blake was in support. Couldn't take it. Gene Miles has left the field for Brisbane, and Brad Sully has replaced him. Play on the Brisbane 22. This is Sully. His first touch of the match, only on a matter of seconds. Lindenberg to Lewis, on to Scott. Colin Scott, taken by Michael Blake. Astle has gone into ruck half. Ball back to Fullerton Smith. And Brisbane have almost reached the halfway. This is their last tackle. Out to Lewis. Fires off a kick. Rebo has to fall back for it, but he's got it safely covered. He'll probably run towards Eadie. Rebo just outside the 22. Eadie. Schubert. It's been a tense encounter, Billy Anderson.
He has. Bob Fulton's instructed his side to employ a kicking game to get the game well out of their own quarter so they don't have any problems with the Brisbane side, which has been instructed by Bob McCarthy to use the ball at all opportunities. He said he'd rather lose this game by 15 points than 6, and he just wants them to move the ball at every possible chance. Manly must be showing some concern at the moment over Alan Thompson. He's still on the field and doing a good job for them, but he's carrying an arm injury, and I must say that Gene Miles, when he walked past me a moment ago after being replaced, he's got an eye like he just came out of Rocky 1.
So it's Manly just outside their quarter with Phil Blake putting a kick up, and it's gone out on the full. And this scrum will go down just outside the Manly 22. 17 points to 8 in favour of Manly. Scrum being worked by Brad Sully. Sully has gone to half, Lindenberg to 5/8, and Lewis is playing in the centres. Differential to Manly. Tonight's early fixture, the Commonwealth Cup semi-final between St Gregory's College of Campbelltown and Murgon High. Murgon, that school from about 4 hours north of Brisbane. We saw them on the Commonwealth Bank Cup last week in Sydney. They'll be replayed for you, that match, at 9 o'clock Saturday morning for Sydney viewers. 9 o'clock Saturday morning, so if that's the case, St Gregory's College Campbelltown would be expecting me to give the result, and I can simply tell you that the boys came out of it victorious and have gone to the Commonwealth Bank Cup final in a fortnight's time. St Gregory's Campbelltown. Murgon, game in defeat, certainly not disgraced. Alan Thompson, 10 metres into Brisbane's territory. About 12 minutes of time remaining as Paul Vaughton is tackled midway between 22 and halfway. 17-8 in favour of Manly. Schubert heads into a gap. Then he turns, picks up Ryan. Ryan's got one to beat. Turns it to Phil Blake. Blake's in for his second. Blake has gone in to score his second try of the night. Opportunist that he is. But what a magnificent supporter of the man with the ball is Phil Blake. He simply eats this stuff up. His caper is to follow the big men through like a shearer's dog, and if you're looking for a supporter, 9 times out of 10 you'll find Phil Blake. He's a great example to the youngsters. Just keep following the big men up the middle, and there he is, picking up another try. Manly 21, Brisbane 8.
Yes, but Ray Bone, of course, is the player that sets up Ian Schubert here. He came inside Tessman and then outside again, determined to pick up Ryan, who was really steaming onto the ball. And Schubert has certainly had a great impact on this game out here this evening. Phil Blake, ever looking to support the ball carrier, backing up on the inside, another 4-pointer.
There he is, the youngster with the world of rugby league at his feet. He's probably in the middle of one of his first downs in rugby league. The fact that he was dropped by Bob Fulton from this team. But, of course, he was brought on very early in the match to replace the injured Phil Sixworth. But he'll be back in first grade very, very shortly, I think. I mean on a permanent basis. Graham Eadie from right in front. Manly 21, Brisbane 8. And Eadie with the simplest of conversion attempts. Hits it. A further 2 points to the Sea Eagles. And Manly lead by 23 points to 8. An unbeatable lead for them. You're watching the KB Cup semi-final from Lang Park, Brisbane. Restart by Lewis using the shallow kick-off, hoping to get possession back. And Paul Vaughton knocks on, so a scrum is to go down. Lindenberg getting it to Lewis as we come back for our Sydney viewers. Colin Scott into the back line, now to Mal Meninga. And Meninga is tackled not too far away from the Manly quarter line. Mitch Brennan, the Brisbane try scorer, passing to Sully, on to Lewis, out to Lindenberg. Now it's with Jones. On it goes now to the other Brisbane replacement to take the field, Richard Paulson. And playing it is Wally Fullerton-Smith. Lindenberg, Tessman. Tessman able to get a pass away. Picked up by Schubert for Manly. Vaughton has gone down, clutching at an arm. And Schubert told to play it. Away goes Ryan. Getting play back towards the halfway is Ray Brown. Ball lost. Taken in by Lindenberg. Given now to Scott. And Scott is met by Rebo and Michael Blake. Blindside to Paulson. Tackled again by Michael Blake and John Rebo. Through Sully, a long ball on the bounce for Lewis. Lewis turns it inside for Tessman. And he's taken low by Dave Brown. Played back to Sully. Given to Fullerton Smith. And Ray Brown is there with Noel Cleal to bring him down just outside the quarter. Lindenberg, chip over the top. Phil Blake's across in cover. It came off the boot of Mitch Brennan, however. And referee asking the question. The touch judge has pointed to Phil Blake, suggesting that it came off his boot. It's still pretty hard to tell just who kicked the ball. The referee is indicating a line dropout. So that indicates that it was a Manly player who kicked it. Waiting for the dropout from Noel Cleal. I just think, looking back on that incident, the touch judge has misinformed his referee, but play goes on, and it probably doesn't make any difference now with the scoreline at 23 points to 8 in favour of Manly. Phil Blake kicks ahead. Referee again says that he saw it and play on. And it's Brad Sully coming up with it, but he knocked on, and he's going to put a scrum down. About 10 metres on the Brisbane side of the halfway.
I think Manly content to go through the motions now, play out the final 7 minutes. They've controlled the game particularly well, and they've been far superior in all departments, to my mind. Some outstanding performances. Graham Eadie, a magnificent game at fullback, continually under the high bombs, safe as a bank, and he figured in some probing runs coming into the back line, had Brisbane under all sorts of pressure. Alan Thompson has had a magnificent game as the team leader, conducting the operations of the Manly attack. And Paul Vorton, Schubert, you name them, the Manly pack as a whole have played exceptionally well.
Well, that incident there you saw on replay, there was a suggestion that Bowstead was tackled late. Dave Lewis, Wally Lewis, in fact, placed himself in front of Bowstead, and Bowstead's momentum appeared to be just as big a problem. The referee saw it, and the ruling was that the ball was kicked out on the full by Bowstead. Mel Cochran is on for Dave Brown in the Manly side. We're down to the last 6 minutes. Colin Scott to play it. This is Jones. Phil Sigsworth has been joined now by Dave Brown. That's Chris Close there also, another casualty from the match. This is Astle, falling a few metres short of the halfway. And a penalty goes to Brisbane. Not allowing the man to play the ball. So the tap being taken 32 metres out from the Manly line. And this is Brad Tessman, Vorton and Schubert, two of the outstanding Manly players making the tackle. But from Vorton, we've seen a performance that has lasted the entire match. This is Jones. Straight through is Jones. He'll score. Yes, he's over. Gavin Jones has scored for the Brisbane side. 23 points to 12 now. Here's the replay of it. A solo performance, if ever you've seen one. Gavin Jones, he just took it up. He got through Mal Cochran. was able to escape the tackle of Philip Blake. Eadie came at him, but it was a case of Gavin Jones all the way for Brisbane.
Yes, it was a strong run, wasn't it? Cochrane, Blake, and of course he's taken by Eadie, but his momentum got him to the line. A very strong run, but I think it's too late as far as Brisbane's concerned.
Very strong performance by that man, Gavin Jones, who came on as a replacement. And Mal Meninga with that right ankle, heavily strapped, attempting conversion. And no mistakes from Meninga. 23 points to 14 the score. 23-14 in favour of Manly. Repeating that match on Sunday night for us in Sydney at 6 o'clock. Parramatta and Canterbury, one of the season's big clashes. And here in Brisbane, it's a 6:30 replay on Channel O of Souths and Norths. 9 o'clock Saturday morning, the Commonwealth Bank Cup replay of Mergon High and St Gregory's College, Campbelltown. The match won by St Gregory's. Completing a very busy week in sport for us. And of course, Network 10 viewers tomorrow night will see the start of the big women's tennis from the Horton Pavilion in Sydney, with an extensive coverage of that major sporting event. Blindside for Scott. He's got Butler on his outside, but the defence has got him. Three and a half minutes of time remaining. Fullerton Smith. Some very tough performances in this Brisbane side tonight, but they have suffered the fate that so many sides have against Manly. They are a very big side, very fast and classy. This man has tried very hard, Brad Tessman. He could easily have promoted a try under the posts for his team during the third quarter. Ball kicked ahead by Conescu, straight through the legs of Eadie, and Eadie has to cover. Phil Blake, scorer of 2 tries. This is Cochrane, a youngster who I believe will go right through in rugby league. Excellent player even now. Here's Windshuttle, held by Colin Scott just a few metres out from his own line. We're hoping to bring you a live interview with the man of the match from the dressing rooms at the completion of this telecast. The dressing rooms, of course, here at Lang Park on the far side of the ground, from which we bring you the pictures and the commentary, but Bill Anderson will be trying to get us an interview with the man of the match. And there'll be a complete wrap of the game in both news bulletins in Sydney and Brisbane tomorrow night, and we'll have a coverage of it, of course, in Sports Week in Sydney on Sunday. Put down by Brad Sully, and another scrum is to pack down. A replay of the knock-on. Simple stuff, just proving that it can happen even in the top grade. That's a clean heel. Alan Thompson, tackled by Bruce Astle. Schubert to the halfway, coming up to the last minute. Trust you've enjoyed the change in time slot, which allowed us to bring this telecast to you in Sydney live. Rebo. Dummy half in 14 is Cochrane. Cleal is getting ready for a run. And that's him with it now. Turning it to Alan Thompson. Short ball to Ryan. Ryan draws them. Passes a long ball out to Windshuttle. Windshuttle pursued by Lindenberg. Takes it to the 22. Just half a minute to go. From the dummy half to Phil Blake. On to Ian Schubert. Here's a long ball. Up to Ray Brown. Can't take it. Kicked by Brisbane. Mitch Brennan is offside. Paul Vorton dives on it. 6 more tackles. Rebo held on the 22. Last few seconds of the match. Thompson, Ryan, he takes the final tackle as the siren sounds, and Manly have gone into the KB Cup final to defend their title with this 23 points to 14 victory over Brisbane. Phil Blake 2 tries, Chris Close and Ross Windshuttle tries. A drop goal by Phil Blake. Graham Eadie 3 goals. For Brisbane, their tries from Mitch Brennan and Gavin Jones. Mal Meninga kicking 3 goals. 23 points to 14. And we'll be back with our final wrap in just a moment. Welcome back, with Manly defeating Brisbane here at Lang Park tonight by 23 points to 14, and thereby going through to the Cup final and to defend the trophy that they won in 1982. And of course they'll be meeting up with either Eastern Suburbs or Cronulla Sutherland, who play the second semi-final next Wednesday night. Well, Keith Barnes, it was a good exhibition of rugby league by the Manly Sea Eagles. Brisbane, though, certainly not disgraced.
Yes, Manly certainly out of their slump, aren't they? I thought they controlled the ball particularly well through the generalship. Alan Thompson, I thought Eadie had a superb game at fullback. But I was surprised with the ease with which Close and Michael Blake blotted out the Brisbane trumps, Meninga and Gene Miles, and I thought Lewis also had a quiet game. The Manly pack took control, spearheaded by Vorton and Schubert. And, of course, Ray Brown directed traffic in the dummy half spot too. It was a very impressive performance by Manly, but I was disappointed in Brisbane all the same.
It was rather predictable that if they could shut down the Lewis-Meninga-Miles combination, Manly may take charge in the forwards, and that's exactly what happened.
Yes, they certainly did, and it's generally accepted in Sydney that to worry Manly, you have to have a good kicking game. And I was surprised that Brisbane didn't adopt those tactics. All right, let's have a look at the Singapore Airlines Superstar points now. 1 point went to the tackling machine from Manly, Paul Vorton. 2 points went to Ian Schubert, and 3 points in man of the match to Graham Eadie. And I believe at this stage, on the other side of Lang Park, Bill Anderson is in a position to talk with our man of the match, Graham Eadie.
Graham, top game. You must be very proud, firstly, of your own performance, and secondly, the rest of the team.
Yes, Bill, I was very happy with the way I played. I've got through the first tackle quite a few times, and you know, I was quite happy with the way I went, and the way the team went. It was the way we've been going the last 2 weeks was a great improvement, and you know, it might be a good thing for us this game.
Being honest, were you always confident you could win the match?
Yes, we were confident all the time. You know, we played bad the last 2 weeks down in Sydney, but you know, prior to that we've been playing good football, and you know, I think it was just a matter of getting a few training runs together with the full side, and we came back to what we were playing about 10 days ago.
Was there any area in particular where you felt you could beat Brisbane?
Yeah, we thought we had it on them in the forwards, you know, with Dave Brown and Paul Vorton back from the Queensland side, and yeah, and then once we got on top there, we had Chris Close and Michael Blake out in the centres, and they played really well to contain Mal Meninga and Gene Miles.
Graham, congratulations once again on a great performance, and now it's back to Ray in our central commentary position.
Thank you to Bill Anderson, who's joined us tonight.